The smell arrives before anything else. Fresh coffee drifts from a roadside. Mixing with warm dust and the faint scent of gasoline, morning sunlight stretches low across the pavement, turning every window into gold. A screen door slaps shut somewhere nearby. A pickup engine coughs awake. In the distance, a train horn lingers over the flat Texas horizon. We stand beside Route 66 in Amarillo in 1957. The road is already awake. Cars glide past with long chrome bodies that catch the sun like mirrors. Their tires hum softly over the pavement. A delivery truck rattles toward town. A man in a pressed white shirt locks the front door of his shop and props it open for the day ahead. The air still holds a trace of coolness from the night. It won't last long. Above us, motel signs stand quietly against the pale sky, waiting for travelers who spent the night on America's most famous highway. Some are still asleep behind drawn curtains. Others are packing suitcases into trunks, folding road maps, and planning the next stretch west. Route 66 carries thousands of travelers each year across the country. But this morning, it feels less like a highway and more like a neighborhood. Every face seems familiar. A waitress waves to a passing customer before she even reaches the diner door. A mechanic rolls open a garage bay and greets the mailman by name. Across the street, someone sweeps yesterday's dust from the sidewalk in slow, practiced strokes. Nothing here feels hurried. The day is only beginning. And there is time for everything. Sunlight climbs a little higher. The neon signs that glowed through the night fade into silence. Their work is finished until evening returns. For now, the morning belongs to coffee cups, open windows, and the steady rhythm of ordinary life. The road stretches east and west beyond what we can see. And if we stay here long enough, this single day will tell us a story, not just about a highway, but about a way of life that still feels close enough to touch. Yet somewhere beyond the horizon, change is already on its way. We settle into the morning as if we belong here. The sun rises higher over Amarillo, warming the storefronts and motel roofs. Traffic grows steadier now. Families pull on to Route 66. With paper maps folded across the front seat, salesmen begin long drives between towns. Local residents head toward work, hardly noticing the famous highway running through the center of their lives. For the next little while, you and I are going to live one full day here. Not a history lesson, not a collection of dates, just one ordinary day in 1957. We will watch the town wake up. We will follow the crowds as Main Street fills with life. We will see what happens behind shop counters and family dinner tables. And when darkness arrives, we will stand beneath the glow of neon signs as Route 66 becomes something entirely different. But there is another story moving quietly beneath the surface. Nobody around us seems concerned. Are busy. The motels are full. Businesses are thriving beside the highway. Yet some of the things that make this place feel alive today will not last forever. The signs are too small to notice right now. A new road here, a new shopping center there. Nothing dramatic, just the first gentle hints of a different America waiting beyond the horizon. For now, though, none of that matters. This morning belongs to the people who are here. The waitress pouring coffee, the mechanic tightening a bolt, the traveler stopping for breakfast before another 100 miles of open road. Their day is beginning, and ours is too. If you enjoy walking back into these forgotten times, consider subscribing to The Way We Were so you don't miss the next journey. The best moments are often the ordinary ones. The moments nobody thought to save, a passing conversation, the sound of a screen door, the smell of fresh bread drifting from a bakery before noon. Those are the things we are here for. So stay with me. The sun is climbing higher now, and the town is waking fully to the day ahead. Soon the sidewalks will fill, the cash registers will ring. And Route 66 will show us why it became one of the most remembered roads in American history. The morning grows brighter with every passing minute. Sunlight spills across the storefront windows and bounces from chrome bumpers parked along the curb. The shadows that stretched across the road at dawn are shrinking now. A warm breeze carries the smell of coffee, fresh pastries, and motor oil. Somewhere nearby, a radio plays softly through an open window. Amarillo is fully awake. We begin walking along Route 66, keeping pace with the town as it settles into its daily rhythm. Cars roll steadily past. Most are polished and proud, their curved bodies reflecting the world around them. Drivers lean an arm out the window. Some wave to familiar faces. Others are travelers seeing this stretch of Texas for the first time. The road feels alive, not loud, not rushed, just busy in the comfortable way small American towns often are. Outside a diner, a waitress carries a fresh pot of coffee between tables. The breakfast crowd is still gathered inside. Farmers, truck drivers, traveling salesmen, and local shop owners sit beneath ceiling fans, talking about weather, business, and plans for the day. Coffee cups clink against saucers. Someone laughs near the counter. The cook calls out another order. The sounds blend together into something familiar. If you grew up in this era, you remember this sound. A few doors down, a barber shop opens for business. The striped pole turns slowly in the morning light. Inside, the first customer settles into a chair while the barber drapes a crisp white cloth around his shoulders. Conversation comes easily here. News travels through places like this long before it appears anywhere else. The town shares its stories face to face. Children hurry along the sidewalk carrying schoolbooks beneath their arms. Their shoes tap against the concrete as they move in small groups. Some laugh, others race ahead. Summer is still a few years away for them, and classrooms are waiting. In 1957, most children still walk to neighborhood schools rather than being driven there. It is a small detail, but it changes everything. The streets belong to people. Parents know the crossing guards by name. Shopkeepers recognize the children who pass their windows each morning. The distance between home, school, and work feels manageable. Life happens close together. A delivery truck stops outside a grocery store. Wooden crates are unloaded one by one. Fresh produce appears on display. A customer pauses to inspect a basket of peaches before continuing inside. Nothing feels automated. Every task has human hands behind it. As the morning continues, more travelers arrive from the east. Route 66 is carrying them across deserts, plains, mountains, and cities. Amarillo sits directly along their path, welcoming them for a few hours or perhaps a few days. Some pull into motor courts with names painted proudly on large roadside signs. Others stop for breakfast before continuing west toward New Mexico and California. Maps unfold across tables. Directions are exchanged. Recommendations are shared. One traveler tells another where to find the best slice of pie in town. That information may travel hundreds of miles before the day is over. The highway creates its own community. People arrive as strangers and leave carrying small pieces of each other's journeys. Near a service station, a mechanic wipes his hands with a rag and steps outside to greet a customer. The station's tall sign rises above the road like a beacon. Gas pumps stand ready beneath a bright canopy. The smell of gasoline hangs gently in the air. It is a scent forever tied to road trips and open highways. Cars in 1957 often require regular service during long journeys, making stations like this an important stop for travelers. The mechanic checks the oil. The customer stretches his legs. For a few minutes, nobody is in a hurry. The morning sun continues its climb. Storefront windows gleam. Traffic grows heavier. The sidewalks fill with movement. Everywhere we look, people are building an ordinary day together without realizing that future generations will one day look back on moments like these with affection. Because ordinary life rarely feels historic while it is happening. It simply feels normal, and perhaps that is what makes it so memorable. The town is not trying to create nostalgia. It is simply living. A mother pushes open the door of a department store. A businessman straightens his tie before entering an office. A young couple pauses beside a display window, talking quietly before heading in different directions. Morning is becoming something else now. The air is warmer. The traffic is thicker. The pace is quicker. And ahead of us, the busiest hours of the day are waiting. By noon, the street has changed. The sun now stands high above Amarillo. The coolness of morning is gone. He rises gently from the pavement, creating a faint shimmer above the road. Storefront awnings cast welcome patches of shade across the sidewalks. Cars line the curbs. Doors swing open and closed without pause. Everywhere we look, the town seems to be moving at once. Route 66 is at its busiest. The steady hum of engines fills the air. Conversations drift from open windows. Cash registers ring inside shops. Somewhere nearby, a jukebox plays a familiar tune that escapes through a diner doorway and floats into the street. The whole town feels connected by sound. We walk past a row of businesses that seem to have been here forever. A pharmacy with a soda fountain. A clothing store displaying neatly pressed shirts in its front window. A hardware shop where customers come and go carrying paper-wrapped packages beneath their arms. Nothing is hidden behind giant parking lots. Everything faces the street. People move on foot from one place to another, stopping often to greet neighbors they know. A man exits a bank and pauses to chat with a friend. Two women compare shopping bags outside a department store. A teenager leans his bicycle against a lamppost before disappearing into a drugstore. Life unfolds in public view. One small fact stands quietly behind all of this. Many downtown businesses still close on Sundays, giving families and workers a shared day of rest. You can feel that slower rhythm even now. People work hard here, but the pace still leaves room for conversation. Inside a busy lunch counter, every stool is occupied. Plates slide across polished surfaces. Sandwiches arrive wrapped in wax paper. Glasses filled with ice clink softly as customers settle into conversations that may last longer than their meals. The smell is impossible to ignore: fresh hamburgers, coffee, pie cooling behind glass displays, and the sweet scent of milkshakes being mixed at the counter. If you grew up in this era, you remember this smell outside. Travelers continue arriving. Many have been driving since sunrise. Dust coats their cars. Maps lie folded on passenger seats. Children climb out of station wagons to stretch their legs after hours on the road. Route 66 is more than a highway. It is a moving river of stories. Every vehicle carries a different destination. A young family heading west. A salesman traveling between states. A couple beginning a vacation they may talk about for years. For a few moments, all of them share the same stretch of road. Near the edge of town, motel signs stand bright against the midday sky. Their colorful designs promise comfort, air conditioning, and a clean bed for the night ahead. Some travelers stop immediately. Others keep driving, convinced they can make it farther before sunset. The road always encourages one more mile. Yet Amarillo has a way of making people linger. Perhaps it is the friendliness. Perhaps it is the feeling that nothing here is pretending to be something else. The town simply welcomes you. A service station attendant rushes between pumps helping customers. He checks tire pressure, cleans windshields, and exchanges friendly conversation while he works. In 1957, full service. Gas stations are still the norm. The service feels personal. A traveler arrives as a customer and leaves feeling recognized. Across the street, a movie theater marquee advertises the latest films. Its letters shine beneath the afternoon sun. Teenagers gather nearby, talking about plans for later. The evening feels distant now, but already people are looking forward to it. The best part of the day is often the anticipation, knowing something enjoyable is still ahead. As lunchtime begins to fade, the rhythm changes again. The crowds thin slightly. Office workers return to their desks. Store owners straighten displays disturbed by the busy morning rush. The town exhales. For a brief moment, Amarillo seems to pause between one chapter of the day and the next. The sunlight remains bright, but it has softened around the edges. Longer shadows are beginning to appear. Children will soon leave school. Workers will start thinking about home. Families will gather around dinner tables before the neon lights awaken again. The road keeps moving, but the day is turning, and somewhere beyond the storefronts and traffic, ordinary family life is waiting for us. By late afternoon, the town has changed once more. The afternoon settles over Amarillo with a quieter feeling. The busiest lunch crowds have passed. The sidewalks are still active, but the pace has softened. Sunlight falls at a lower angle now, warming the brick buildings and casting longer shadows across the street. The heat of the day lingers in the air, but a gentle breeze occasionally moves through town, carrying the scent of cut grass from nearby neighborhoods. The road continues its steady conversation with the world. Cars come and go. Trucks rumble through. Travelers stop briefly before disappearing toward the horizon. Yet beyond the storefronts and service stations, another part of life is unfolding. We leave the highway for a moment and follow a residential street lined with modest homes. Trees sway gently above front lawns. Bicycles rest on their sides near driveways. Laundry moves softly on a clothesline behind a fence. The neighborhood feels calm, comfortable, lived in. A screen door opens, then another. Children are beginning to arrive home from school. Books are carried inside. Lunch pails are placed on kitchen counters. Jackets are tossed over chairs. Before long, the quiet streets fill with the sounds of play. A baseball bounces across a yard. A bicycle chain rattles down the sidewalk. Someone calls for a friend from across the street. The afternoon belongs to children. One small fact captures this moment perfectly. In 1957, many neighborhoods still have enough open space for children to spend hours outdoors without organized schedules. The day feels wider because of it. There is room to wander, room to explore, room to simply be young. If you grew up in this era, you remember these afternoons. The feeling that the day still stretched endlessly ahead. Back toward town, workers continue their routines. A mechanic closes the hood of a customer's car and wipes grease from his hands. A cashier counts receipts behind a store counter. A delivery driver makes one final stop before heading back to the warehouse. Nobody thinks these moments are remarkable, yet they are the moments that build a life. The small routines, the familiar faces, the quiet certainty that tomorrow will look much the same. Inside a neighborhood kitchen, dinner preparations have already begun. A radio sits on the counter playing softly while vegetables are chopped and pots begin to simmer. The smell drifts through open windows and into the warm afternoon air. Nearby, a father arrives home from work. His car pulls into the driveway. The engine shuts off. For a moment, everything is still. Then the front door opens. Children rush outside. Questions arrive before he reaches the porch. Stories from school, stories from work, tiny pieces of the day exchanged before anyone even steps inside. These reunions happen thousands of times across America every evening, yet each one feels personal. Each one belongs only to the family living it. We can almost hear the sounds coming from nearby homes, the clatter of dishes, the murmur of conversation, the laughter from a living room. A television set may be on, but it is not yet the center of attention. Families still gather around meals together, sharing the details of their day. Face to face, the connections feel immediate, direct, human. As the afternoon continues, shadows stretch farther across the lawns. The bright energy of midday slowly gives way to something gentler. The town seems to be preparing itself for evening. Back on Route 66, motel signs are becoming more noticeable. Restaurant owners check their dining rooms before the dinner rush. Neon tubes that have rested all day wait silently behind colored glass. Soon they will glow again. The travelers who arrived this morning are deciding where to spend the night. Some check into roadside motels, others settle into booths at local diners. A few stand beside their cars watching the sun slowly descend toward the Texas horizon. The light is beautiful now, golden, soft, the kind of light that turns ordinary buildings into cherished memories. And perhaps that is what this afternoon feels like most of all. Not extraordinary, not historic, just deeply familiar. The kind of day that seemed endless while it was happening. The kind of day many people would spend years wishing they could visit again. The sun is lowering now. Store owners are turning on lights inside their windows. Families are finishing dinner, and all across Amarillo, the first hints of night are beginning to appear. By evening, the town will wear an entirely different face. The sun slips lower toward the horizon, and Amarillo begins its transformation. The golden light of late afternoon fades into soft shades of orange and blue. Long shadows stretch across Route 66. The heat of the day finally begins to loosen its grip. A cooler breeze moves through town, carrying the smell of dinner from nearby restaurants and the faint scent of dust from the open plains beyond the city. For a brief moment, everything feels suspended between day and night. Store owners switch on lights inside their windows. Waitresses straighten menus and refill sugar dispensers. Travelers slow down and start looking for places to stay. The road is still busy, but its mood has changed. Morning belongs to work, night belongs to possibility. One by one, the neon signs come alive. A motel sign flickers. A restaurant sign glows red and blue. A towering roadside display hums softly as its bright colors push back the darkness gathering around it. The highway becomes a ribbon of light, and suddenly, Route 66 feels almost magical. Cars glide beneath the neon glow. Chrome trim reflects flashes of color with every passing block. Windshields catch reflections from signs that advertise rooms, food, gasoline, and entertainment. Everything sparkles. Everything seems larger than life. If you grew up in this era, you remember these lights. You remember seeing them from the back seat of a car and wondering what waited beyond the next sign. Families gather inside restaurants along the highway. Everything sparkles. Everything seems larger than life. If you grew up in this era, remember these lights. You remember seeing them from the back seat of a car and wondering what waited beyond the next sign. Families gather inside restaurants along the highway. The dinner rush is in full swing now. Ladies arrive steaming from busy kitchens. Glasses clink together. Laughter rises above the steady hum of conversation. The smell is unforgettable. Fresh coffee, grilled steaks, warm rolls straight from the oven, and pie waiting patiently beneath glass displays. Travelers who began the day hundreds of miles away are now settling into booths, sharing stories from the road. Some compare routes, some discuss weather ahead. Others simply enjoy the comfort of sitting still after a long day of driving. Route 66 connects strangers in ways that are easy to overlook. For a few hours, their journeys overlap. Then they continue on. Outside, movie theater marquees glow brightly against the darkening sky. Teenagers gather beneath them, laughing and making plans for the evening. The excitement is simple. A movie, a soda, time spent with friends. One small fact captures this moment perfectly. By the late 1950s, drive-in theaters and local cinemas are among America's most popular evening destinations. Entertainment feels shared, communal, an event rather than a distraction. As darkness settles completely, the town seems to shine even brighter. The neon signs become landmarks in the night. The motels glow like beacons for weary travelers. Service stations remain open, their lights illuminating rows of gas pumps waiting for the next customer. Even the road itself appears different. The black pavement reflects streaks of color from every direction. A passing car leaves a trail of light across the scene, for travelers arriving. After sunset, this is often their first impression of Amarillo, and it is a memorable one. Near a motel courtyard, families sit outside their rooms enjoying the cooler evening air. Children finish the last moments of play before bedtime. Parents relax in lawn chairs, talking quietly about the miles they covered today and the miles still ahead tomorrow. The journey never truly stops, it simply pauses for the night. Back in nearby neighborhoods, porch lights glow softly above front steps. Radios play behind open windows. The day's work is finished. The rush of morning feels far away now. The busy sidewalks, the world beyond Amarillo seems distant beneath the stars. The lunch crowds, the afternoon errands, all of it has settled into memory. Night has gathered everything together. The town feels smaller, more intimate. The world beyond Amarillo seems distant beneath the stars. And for a little while, Route 66 becomes more than a highway. It becomes a place where people rest, reconnect, and dream about where tomorrow might lead. The neon continues to glow. Cars continue to arrive. Conversations continue behind diner windows. Yet beneath the beauty of this evening, something else quietly exists. A future nobody can quite see yet. A future that will slowly change roads like this one forever. Years pass quietly, not all at once, not with a single dramatic moment. The changes arrive slowly, almost politely, as if they do not want to disturb anyone. At first, Route 66 still feels eternal. The diners remain busy. The motels continue lighting their signs each evening. Families still stop for pie, coffee, and a night's rest before continuing west. Most people assume tomorrow will look much like today, and for a while it does. But beyond Amarillo, new highways begin appearing. Across America, they are wider, faster. Built to move people efficiently from one place to another. Drivers who once passed directly through towns now travel around them instead. A few cars disappear from the daily traffic, then a few more. The change is difficult to notice at first, yet every year, the road grows a little quieter. New shopping centers appear farther from downtown. Families buy homes in expanding suburbs. Young people leave for larger cities, chasing opportunities their parents never imagined. Nobody intends to leave anything behind. Life simply moves forward. That is how most eras end, not with a farewell, with a gradual drift. A motel owner notices fewer reservations. A diner closes an hour earlier than it once did. A storefront sits empty for a few months longer than expected. The neon signs still glow, but fewer people stop to admire them. The conversations continue, though some familiar voices are missing. And slowly, almost invisibly, an entire way of life begins slipping into memory. The remarkable thing is that nobody standing on Route 66 in 1957 can see this future clearly. They are too busy living their ordinary lives, working, raising families, planning tomorrow. The people we met during this day do not know they are creating memories that future generations will treasure. To them, it is simply Tuesday, just another morning coffee, just another drive down the road, just another evening beneath the neon lights. Yet those ordinary moments become the very things people miss most when they are gone. Maybe you remember a street like this. It may not have been Amarillo. It may not even have been Route 66. But perhaps there was a road in your own hometown where everyone seemed to know each other. A place where shopkeepers recognized faces, where families gathered on front porches, and where the rhythm of life felt steady enough to trust. Maybe you remember the sound of a screen door closing behind you on a summer evening. Maybe you remember riding your bicycle until the streetlights came on. Maybe you remember sitting in the back seat of a family car, watching neon signs slide past the window one by one. The details are different for everyone. The feeling is often the same. There is something comforting about remembering a world that moved a little slower. Not because it was perfect, every era has its challenges, but because small moments seemed easier to notice. A conversation at a lunch counter, the familiar face behind a cash register, the excitement of arriving somewhere after a long drive, the comfort of returning home at the end of the day. Those moments rarely make history books, yet they become the memories that stay with us longest, and perhaps that is why places like Route 66 continue to live in our imagination, not because of the road itself, but because of the lives lived beside it, the ordinary mornings, the busy afternoons, the glowing evenings, the countless stories that unfolded without anyone realizing they would one day matter so much. When we look back at 1957, we are not only seeing a different America. In some small way, we are also remembering pieces of ourselves. Some places don't survive, but they're never really gone. They remain in old photographs, faded postcards, family stories, and memories carried across generations. They live in the smell of fresh coffee from a roadside diner, in the glow of a neon sign against the night sky, in the sound of tires humming along a familiar stretch of road, and for a little while, they live here with us. Today, we walked through a full day on Route 66 in Amarillo in 1957. From the first light of morning to the last neon glow of evening, we shared a world that once felt completely ordinary to the people who called it home. Yet those ordinary days became something precious, because time kept moving, and they could never be lived again. Some places don't survive, but they're never really gone. If this journey brought back a memory, leave a comment and tell us what it reminded you of. And if you enjoy revisiting these forgotten moments from America's past, subscribe to The Way We Were so you don't miss the next walk through history. I'd love to hear from you.